Hey, this is Kirk.
This is Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show, and we are talking high school football. It's the semifinals, y'all, and we're going to cover two specific games, but we'll go into a couple of other ones. And we've got two legit guests today. All right, they're both JDs, okay? We got my boy Jeremiah Davis. Y'all know him, former Penn State Annandale High School football star. He's been a head coach at several places now. He's a big-time administrator, all right, and still helping the coach at Loudoun County where his son is a star. Welcome to the show, Jeremiah.
Hey, glad to be back here for one more again, just to get it back with my guys right there, talk a little high school football.
Oh, yeah. This is what we will be doing even if the cameras weren't on. Jerry, we'd just be doing this anyway. And then we got the other JD, and he's the one that actually makes us official. We've got Justin Ditmore, Virginia Tech Hokie, who is a professional radio talk show host at JD Media. He's also been a 16 years 16 years sports director, weekend anchor for WSLS TV in the Roanoke area. He's a Hokie. He's actually from the DMV. Played football at Atherton High School, and he knows his stuff, and he's going to be able to tell us a lot about that Roanoke area and some of the great programs out there. Thank you for joining us, Justin.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate the invite.
Oh yeah. Two Hokies up here, Jerry. What we gonna do?
I don't know. You got the.
I tell you what, if we were playing football, they would probably lose.
Right. And as I said, Tech wanted Jeremiah to play offensive line, and he ended up starring at defensive end at Penn State. So Tech's lost there. So.
That's right.
No, my two favorite football teams, Virginia Tech and now Penn State. Ever since 2000, they've been in my top three. Thank you, Jerry. All right, let's get started. We go with the Class 4 matchup where we have Salem playing Tuscarora out of Loudoun County, not the one in Maryland, but he knows a lot about that Salem team. He's covered them. He's called their games. We're also going to get a preview of the William Byrd Liberty Christian. That is a Class
3. That's three.
Class 3 matchup. That's right, because they played Phoebus a few years ago. But Kirk, before we get started, go ahead on and tell folks where they can find us.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. We know Justin Ditmore is going to do that. And like half of our friends say they have and they haven't. But follow us on Twitter at the Kirk and Byrd. And then if you just look up the Kirk and Byrd, it's our number one search term. You'll find us on other platforms. We've got, for you Northern Virginia folks, a 703-540 Nova High School sports page for discussion. We're posting lots of content on there. We're covering all the sports. We've had volleyball on there. We got a young guy,
baseball.
He's at golf at Radford. So we're keeping track of all the kids, not just the revenue sports. So please check us out there. And for you folks down in Roanoke, please subscribe to us. Check us out. We had Matt Chase from Roanoke Times. He's a new writer there. He came from Idaho. We had him on for a VHSL preview. So Salem, you probably want to watch this because we're going to tell you a lot about Tuscarora. I live right down the road from Tuscarora. Jeremiah has coached against Tuscarora. And then for the other folks down there, we've definitely covered some teams. I just wanted to tell you, Rusty, I finally got a hold of Andre Kendrick from EC Glass High School, ran for a touchdown in the national championship. He was an EC Glass guy. He was at the game. So I know Justin Ditmore knows a whole lot. But
he's a great dude,
we're anxious to get more people in Roanoke, Lynchburg, and Southwest Virginia involved.
Yeah, and exactly. We actually had for basketball, we had the Patrick Henry Roanoke basketball coach on the show last year going into the
Jack Esworthy,
Yep, from the state finals. Yep. And I interviewed him, before the game, but then also after. But we really want to get that part of the state on board because we're covering, Northern Virginia 757 because Kirk, Jeremiah, and I were all born in the 757, and now we live up here in the 703. But I went to college in Richmond. I went to VCU, got a lot of contacts and fame. So we're growing there too. And we really have picked up in the 540. So that's central. We got King George, we got Cortland, we got a lot of those programs following us. So let's see if Justin can help out as we look to get.
I might know some people.
Yeah, there we go. Now, Justin, if we only get like 40 views. I'm gonna blame it on you.
It'll be, well, yeah. That's because you're showing my face. That's the problem.
Right.
Used to me on radio, they're like, oh, that's what that guy looks like? Oh, he's roughened up since TV.
Justin, we've actually got, if you could look up the number, I don't know, we've got an episode where we go over the best high school football player ever in Virginia. And we talk about the fact that Southwest Virginia, Roanoke, has a lot of players. Rondé Barber just got put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Tiki Barber. I mean,
Tiki Barber.
You can go way back. Oh yeah, at least John St. Clair played in the NFL. Yeah. Shannon Taylor. Yeah.
Thomas Jones.
Yep.
All those Gate City kids that went to Texas. There's a lot of great football down there. I almost said Heath that went to Swords Creek, Honaker.
Yeah. Big Heath.
It's a lot of great players down there.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to talk Tuscarora and Salem football. Let's start out by first saying these two teams. Salem has a great tradition of high school football. They've won a lot of state championships, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they've won 7 or 8 state titles. They've been good since the early 90s, late 80s when Willis White was there. They had a legendary game against Richlands, the illegal cleats game back in the 90s. Richlands wore illegal cleats to in a mud pit to win a game. They've won multiple state titles. And the thing about Salem is I've covered them for 33 years now, and they haven't changed a thing. They do. It's the same offense, the same defense. They come out of the womb running the I formation, and they just they don't do anything flashy. They're just hugely fundamental, and they do everything well. And this year, most years they don't have a lot of D1 talent. This year they've got the #1 player in the state of Virginia, Chris Cole, who's heading to Georgia. They've got the #4 player in the state, Peyton Lewis. He's heading to Tennessee. They've got another linebacker, Jalen Allen, who is going to go D1, whether it's JMU, Marshall. And I've said on the air, Virginia Tech and Virginia are missing the boat on that kid because neither program's good enough to overlook that kid. So they've got just talent. They're not huge. Up front, they are not big. They're just fundamental. Guys don't miss blocks. They get to the second level, and then they have guys with wheels that you just can't catch.
Right. So one of the things that Kendrick Andre told me was that Peyton Lewis is big and fast. He's a very, very good runner. Going to run out of that I formation. They're going to run a lot. What should the folks up here, like the Tuscarora's got a pretty good defense. They've got a recruit that's going to Florida that's going to be an offensive tackle. But
I saw the big lineman, right?
Yeah, Jeremiah knows all about him because Jeremiah helps out Loudoun County. But he's going to plug up the middle. What can we look for in Peyton Lewis?
Well, they're going to line up in the I. They've got a fullback, Javion Jones, who will carry the ball 12, 15 times. They'll just run that fullback power dive, and they'll run Peyton between the tackles. He's the state champion in Division IV in the 100 meters. So he's
snap.
You don't have anybody who can catch him if he gets loose. The key is not to letting him loose. But they don't – you would think with a kid that fast, they try to get him outside and get him on the edge. But they go between the tackles, and they just pound and pound and pound. And they don't throw the ball a whole lot. Their quarterback, Eli Taylor, was injured for a lot of the year. He's back. He's a lefty. He's a junior. He does throw it a little bit better, opens it up. They use Chris Cole, the big receiver. He's 6'4", 225.
He's a great receiver, Justin.
Yeah, they don't throw him the ball. Yeah. I've done 3 Salem games this year. He's caught 0 passes, which is mind-boggling, but they use him as a lead blocker. They'll bring him in motion across the formation, then spin him around and run off tackle, and he'll jump out there and kick out the end, allowing the tackle or tight end to dive inside and get the linebacker. And then all of a sudden you've got Lewis, who's 6 foot, 200 pounds, fastest kid in the state.
Wow.
Getting ahead of steam, and then you have a problem.
Okay. Wow. I did not know that. So look, I'll be honest. We're from the 757. We cover 540 sports. We've all been saying, look, the state championship game is FIBA's King George. Blah, everybody else. All right.
Right.
Now, it sounds like Salem, okay, they might be bringing it. They might be bringing it. But they got to get past Tuscarora. So, Jeremiah, tell us a little bit about them. Now, Tuscarora, I remember when that was a new school.
2010, I believe.
Yeah. A former Penn State alum, Troy Cromwell. Troy's boys played football there. And Troy played on our flag football team for a minute.
Yeah, right. So right when they opened, he was part of that program. And from the beginning, they established a culture there. Mm-hmm. And so again, I go back coaching against them 2015 and 16 when they had Reimers and they had the quarterback that kind of bounced around a little bit. Maybe he ended up at Villanova when I was over at Herndon. And so, but one thing they've had is a consistent culture. And knowing, and speaking of that, and I'll talk a little bit about Salem and how that work, how that goes together. But they were established with that kind of winning culture. They had some tragedy when they lost the coach in their program early on in that. Field is named after them, and it kind of brought them together. Their theme is Band of Brothers. And that has never left. Through 3 different coaches in the history of the school, that kind of mentality and belief in what they do has maintained since 2010. Now you add in a couple of guys, like we talk about Fletcher Westfall, huge. I mean, and when people put like 6'8" on things, like it's like
6'7",
right?
Yeah,
6'6".
No, he's 6'8.5". Looks
like
6'9".
This guy might be 6'9". Like what I mean? Like he's that big and straight line running. He's
amazing, man. He runs like a gazelle.
I mean, he can move. And so you have a force like that, but their defensive player to get the defensive player in the year was a defensive lineman in their region. Our region's defensive player of the year was a defensive lineman from the team, not named Fletcher Westfall. So that's right. They've hung their hat on playing good defense, and they're holding teams to that. You throw in the mix the exciting and a good friend of the family, so I speak highly of him. But Dawson Pugh, I mean, he makes the saying in our household is big time players make big time plays in big moments. And when a play was needed for Tuscarora, who doesn't throw the ball a lot, they throw it up to him. He goes up in double coverage, catches the ball, comes down with it. They win the game. That's not
Justin. He's number 1. Everybody in Salem needs to keep their eyes on Dawson Pugh.
So their quarterback PD, he runs the ball a lot, and takes advantage of just what you have to play 11. When you run the quarterback, you have to account for 11 people. There's no extra hat. And so, you got to make that one-on-one tackle. And again, they've been able to take advantage of that. But again, their defense is getting people off the field, and their offense is they can be tempo when they want to be. They can pick it up. And so they've had some success with that. Now, talking about, in this 4A matchup, and this is me, again, only 2 years coaching on this side. Again, I've been in Division 6 Fairfax County world for, 17 years, and now I'm coming over to this. Very familiar. Teams up here are very familiar with Salem because that was your ticket to the state championship. You think about broad run teams had to go down to Salem, right? Mm-hmm. And even when at times when it's been up at 5 and teams have had to go through Salem. Salem hasn't had to travel very much. They don't leave the bowl. They don't leave the confines very much.
They don't leave the Republic of Salem. No,
they do not. I was looking on the computer. I was trying to find when's the last time they've gotten this far in the playoffs where they've had to travel. And that's not been the case. They're used to you got, and that's a hike. It's not normal for us. And so you talk to the folks at Hanley, Sharando, those type of teams are used to going back down that way, and are very familiar with their style of play, which is a throwback. In 2023, the fullback is making a reoccurrence, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I was a fullback. I love it. Like most people, I wouldn't exist nowadays.
But he keeps you so in a time where that just we talk about up here we talk about Stonebridge and what they do, and you got to prepare for it. Well, if you don't if you're snapping the ball off the line of scrimmage 3 yards in the backfield in the shotgun, you play that 9 out of 10 games. Now you go to somebody that's smash mouth. That's a little bit different preparation. It's a different preparation for your scout team. Your scout team quarterback doesn't even take snaps that way. They got to now go on the center to do that preparation for that.
That's the same thing I've said about Stonebridge. Now, I know that's a whole nother game, but now it's people throwing the ball. That's what's common. When you get Stonebridge on the schedule, you're like, what the, but go ahead, Jerry. That's legit.
It's all of those things coming into it. Again, they are undefeated and riding the wave right now. They, again, have been this far. They've played the Highland Springs of the world. They've, they're 3 years removed from a state championship game. And so their coaching staff knows how to coach deeper into the season. They know how to make adjustments. And their kids are very excited. And again, just listen to Justin talk about Salem and their pride in their program. There's a lot of pride of these kids on this side of Leesburg that are excited to host the game, and ready to go with it.
I got a question for you, Jeremiah. So for the folks watching this from Salem, and I'm kind of bragging on you a little bit. Yes, Tuscarora is 12 or 13-0. But I see what you help coach that defense at Loudoun County. And this is an undefeated team, but when you guys played them early in the season, they only beat you 7-0. And then in the playoffs, they only beat you by 12, 28-16. What are some of the things that you guys noticed, or what were you able to do besides your son being a great linebacker? What were you able to do to keep those games so close?
I tell them my favorite high school football player lives in my household, and I love to watch him play. All right, and I say that with tremendous pride. But one of the things, again, is the crosstown rivalry, which that goes into it. That goes into it. I mean, that's a crosstown rivalry where these kids have played youth league to get legit. This is where the youth league goes. Our youth league splits between two schools. They're very familiar with each other. And there's a lot of want to. Early in the season, we got the game canceled because of heat. It stopped at halftime, and they scored probably about with 45 seconds left, a minute left right before the half to get that 7 points. And it was a 0-0 game, very back and forth.
Oh, wow.
In that game. And we chose to play field position. Our coach, the head coach, actually had his son that day, and I was the acting head coach.
Wow.
And so, and trying to represent what he would do well. Again, we play field position. We punted the ball. We made him drive the field and kind of got a stop, and went back and forth with them. As you look at their scores, their side of their district, they kind of dominated their district when they came. When they crossed over, we're a different district. When they crossed over, it was a little different. I'm not saying that all the teams were stronger, but we represented 3 of the 4 teams that made it to that second round of the region from our side. So again, that kind of the game plan that Salem has, which is running the ball, which takes time. Okay. Willing to punt and play staunch defense, which you look at their scores, that's what they're doing. This is going to be a lower scoring game than I think either team has had to play in. It's going to be cold. And who's going to say ouch first?
So, okay, that brings me to what I was going to ask. So I haven't seen Tuscarora this year. In fact, the first time I ever saw a Tuscarora game was to go see Bryce Duke. Okay, and it was a playoff game against Kettle Run. For those who don't know, Bryce Duke is a running back at Virginia Tech now. Jeremiah was actually the first person to tell me about him, but he was the All-Met Player of the Year 2 years ago. Amazing running back, and he's been on our show. But I saw him, and I was just like, all I could think about when I thought of Tuscarora was him running the ball. Do they have an offensive threat that can match what Salem has?
Again, their ability to find ways to run the ball is what makes them tick. Again, a lot of that is carried by the quarterback. And they have multiple people that they've used in the backfield. I think they have 5 or 6 guys who've scored.
Eli Chappell, Ty Cobb,
right?
Dawson
Pugh, who's got in the backfield.
Petey can run. Justin Ditmore. Tommy Petey is a very elusive quarterback. So they're by committee.
Yeah.
And so they find ways to get that extra hat to block, and in the spring and free, they spend time doing that. It's very obvious in their game plan. And so to say you're gonna shut something down, you're gonna sell it in one way, because they do have the athletes to make you pay if you wanna throw over the top. Now, again, I keep bringing back up the contrast in styles. That can work until you get behind. And they haven't played from behind. They haven't had to do that. They had an overtime game this year, and but they haven't had to do that very much. Whoever can control the ball wins this game. And again, there's different ways of doing it. You got somebody who's pounding the ball to control it. You have somebody who's dinking and dunking and trying to find ways to do it. But whoever controls the ball wins that football game.
Tell us about that, Justin.
Well, I was going to say the one game Salem lost to LCA at the beginning of the year. It was back and forth. It was 7-7. It was 14-14. LCA has a running back, Gideon Davidson. He's a junior. He's going to Clemson. He's one of the top 3 running backs in the country. Well, Salem shut him down. Then he ripped off a 57-yard run in the fourth quarter and allowed them to score the touchdown. It's the only time Salem has really been behind all year. And that's kind of to Jeremiah's point about Tuscarora. Hey, all of a sudden you got to throw it, get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Salem had to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, had to start throwing it, showing some urgency, and they lost the game 21-14. So I think that point's a great point, that it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be who makes the mistakes, turnovers, special teams. Does somebody get one block? Does somebody allow somebody to get loose on a punt return? Peyton Lewis returns punts for Salem. So, do you make a mistake and all of a sudden Mr. 10 flat in the 100 goes down the sideline and you can't catch him? Tuscarora's probably got a couple kids like that. All of a sudden they get loose, you're going to have trouble catching them. It's going to be something like that.
Okay. All right. So now go ahead, Kirk.
Just something I wanted to ask was, it seems from watching Salem that they may be susceptible to the pass. The run's going to be difficult, but Tuscarora is going to probably have an opportunity between the linebackers and the safety EC Glass, I guess, had some H-backs that were very successful coming back, 6-7 yards off the line of scrimmage. Justin, what's your thought on that? Are they susceptible to the pass, the medium range pass? Because I think the coaches at Tuscarora are going to see that. Yeah,
because what's going to happen is, they have Chris Cole plays one outside linebacker. You've got Peyton Lewis will come in and out at the other outside linebacker. So you've got 2 kids. They're 4x100 state championship team. Those are 2 of the 4. So you've got those on the outside.
2 ways, yep.
Yeah, the kid in the middle, Jalen Allen, is 6'3", 220. They've got a good safety. Chris Martin, he's a senior. He punts. He's backup quarterback. He plays receiver. He plays safety. But I think they have trouble getting to the quarterback. And that allows, once you start letting the guy sit back there for 3-4 seconds, that's a lot to ask those kids to cover, and you can get those intermediate routes, especially if you got Lewis on one side, Cole on the other. That middle of the field can tend to get open.
What's your thoughts on that, Jeremiah? Because, like you said, there's 4 or 5 guys that are very interchangeable. They can do a lot with the ball, like a misdirection play. They run some misdirection flanker screens. What's your thought on Tuscarora being able to do that against Salem?
Yeah, and that's
hold on. So what we're doing right now, the one thing keys to the game. So that's what we're doing right now. That was going to be a little segment that you were telling us now. So keys to the game, Jeremiah. And I think, Justin, you just hit some, but we'll come back to you.
Yeah, I think that, again, the way to back people off of the run is to throw the ball, right? And so, again, you go man-to-man. I mean, we're talking coach speak right now. You're going to man-to-man. You're going to stack the box. You want to put extra people in the box and say, hey, you're going to beat us throwing the ball. We're going to get after you with the blitz, or we're going to cover up all your gaps. Right. And so you can't run the ball. Right. Well, obviously, to get out of that, to get people to back off of you, you got to pass the ball a little bit. And they do. They have an RPO game, run pass option game. Right. They can show the run, throw the pass, quarterback's keeping it. So that's another. So they can power run you, they can RPO you, and then they can go straight down the field with a couple guys that can run and catch the ball. Again, now we get into the chess match of it. which one of the 100-meter guys gets to come off, rush off the edge versus the offensive tackle who's going to University of Florida, and let's have a pre-college matchup, right? This is why we're at this point during the season, right? The other part of that is, and I'm gonna keep going back to like, guys, Jeremiah keeps saying the same thing. We're gonna flip that back. Can they stop the power running game and make them have to pass the ball? Tuscarora has done that to every team they played against, including us. They say, listen, we got these cats, and they do. They got cats on the outside. You say, we're going to put your cat on our cat, but one thing you're not going to do is just run this thing down our throat all day. And so, like, you know, that's one of the things that I just think it's gonna come down to that, is making that play. Who's going to make those plays when it counts? And again, I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, you know, affair on Saturday, because as both teams try to win and make it to the state championship game.
Okay, good, Justin.
And I agree totally. And I think it's going to come down to who makes the mistakes, and can Salem get a little more creative offensively. You know, like I said, you're going to watch them play, and they won't get out of the I formation maybe the whole game unless they get down. And when they get creative, they send two receivers to one side of the formation. That's spreading it out. So
Justin,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
If Salem can do something creative to maybe catch them off balance, because you're expecting dive off tackle, do a jet sweep. Give Chris Cole the ball, 6'4", 225, full speed on a jet sweep. Because I don't know how many DBs in the state of Virginia can deal with 6'4", 225 coming full speed.
Justin, let me ask you something. So they're in the I formation. Is their quarterback under center?
Yes.
The whole game?
Yes, they do. They will, when they throw it, they will put him in shotgun once in a while. If they're trying to go 2-minute, or on the chance that they are trailing, they will try to spread it out a little bit, but he'll be under center 90% of the time, 95% of the time.
Jeremiah, I'm sure you can attest to this. Kids today do not know how to take a snap from center. They've grown up playing 7-on-7, flag football, and now high school, everybody's spreading it out. And I'll get a kid and I'll be like, okay, go under, and they're just they're dropping the snap. They don't know how to take a snap. Okay.
I think a key for Tuskies are going to be a lot coming up the middle. And Justin, Fletcher Westfall is usually double teamed. And then the player, Jeremiah, that you were talking about, the region player of the year, is number 75, Lucas Love. Outstanding player. So for Tusky, it's going to be big up the middle. And I think that, I think this game could come down is whether or not Tuscarora can handle that run.
All right. So next, we're going to go ahead on and we're going to give some predictions. But before we do that, I just want to do a very basic, and I know, Jerry, you don't necessarily know Salem and, you know, vice versa, but let's do this. I just want to break it down to 4 areas: offense, defense, special teams, coaching. And we're going to get everybody's opinion. I'm going to just keep a little tally, and who do we think, based on some of those things, may give us a window into who could win. So offense, who do we think has the better or more productive offense? Based on the year in scoring, Salem's scoring 40 points a game and Tuscarora's 29. But does that necessarily mean they're going to be able to be the most productive? Who would we give the edge in offense in this matchup?
Well, I will say Salem does score a lot in other ways. So that 40 points isn't coming out of offense.
Okay.
They've had a number of pick sixes. I did a game against Patrick Henry, Division 5. They were the number 1 seed, got beat. Salem took back not 1, but 2 pick sixes in the first half. Those were their only touchdowns until the fourth quarter. So they score a lot of different ways. So, but by strict offense, I think Salem's got players, but will they get creative to get those players out in space? You know, to me, just from hearing Jeremiah talk, it sounds like Tuscarora may have more guys to worry about, numbers of guys that get the ball. Salem's got a couple, you know, you better stop or you're in trouble.
Okay. I'd go with Salem. I'd go with Salem because Peyton Lewis and the power and the fact that Chris Cole can carry the ball. But I wouldn't make that edge that big. What do you think, Jeremiah?
Man, Justin gave like the most political answer. He's professional about this. I got to worry about my neighbors, man. You know, I live down the street. These are my people right here. Like, man, listen. Honestly, I think it's intertwined. Okay, I think that the offense is intertwined with the coaching, which was one of the areas that you talked about, right? And so it comes down to the creativity of a traditional team and the ability of a team that has weapons to get the ball. It's one football. And, if you got a great receiver, how many times does he get the ball? How do you get him that ball? Or if your quarterback can run the ball, how can we keep him upright and not getting rocked? You know what I mean? And so I think it's tied into that coaching deal. I think Tuscarora has the creativity to make it interesting. And I think Salem has the firepower to take that thing and go and dictate how they want the game to go, that's how their season has been this year.
Yeah. Okay. Now defensively, both teams have some ballers, okay? But scheme, experience, do you give the edge to one team to maybe to be able to stop the other team? And then and does weather play a factor? Right now, I don't see any rain.
It's gonna be cold.
It's going to be cold.
It's going to rain in the morning, right?
It's going to. Okay, I know it's raining on Friday, but defensively, is there anything that stands out?
Chris Cole.
Yeah, Salem's got
Number
3
9.
They got 3 D1 linebackers.
Yeah.
The question is, can Tuscarora's offensive line deal with the line enough to get big guys like Westfall to the linebackers? Because Salem tends to tie everybody up front, and those 3 D1 kids just run around and make all the tackles. Yep. If you can get guys on them, you might be able to pop one. That would be the issue. But I think linebacking wise, Salem is unbelievable. Up front, they're really not that big.
Okay. Yeah, they're not that big. I think they're about 225, 230. That's one of those things I want to point out.
Yeah. And that's after dinner. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Rusty, you and I were talking about this, and Jeremiah, we want to get your take on the defense, but we were just talking about basketball players, and I went to a game last night, big time prospect, and I was like, if you walked in the gym, you probably couldn't tell, right? And then he was talking about another one. A lot of times when you walk into a football game, there could be a big time prospect. I think Chris Cole is the kind of player, number 9. If you're watching the game for a while, you'll be like, that's the one. He's the one. He's the big time recruit.
Let me tell you this. Phil Elmation, coached college forever, right? Buddy of mine. He came to the first Salem game with me, and he's retired. And he goes, Justin, let me tell you something, buddy. I would come out of retirement to coach the Cole kid. And I was like, dude, you live in Myrtle Beach, retired. What do you mean? And he goes, I would come out of retirement to coach that kid. Very bleak. That's how good he is.
You know what? That sounds a lot like my coach, Coach Kozlowski, 3-time state champion and Hall of Famer, who would have said, because of Rusty Byrd, I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. I can't have these Rusty Byrd running backs. Jerry, tell us about that D.
So with intimate inside details, Tuscarora hasn't played a team with this kind of firepower on defense. Right. Just they haven't. So you're talking 3 Division I kids. That makes a difference. But that's when you got to isolate people. Like now, that's when you got to spread them out. He's got to defend this, and he's got to defend that, and now we got to beat one. You got to find not the guy. We're going to focus on him. They did a great job versus us. They found okay, well, this kid is over here is very aggressive. Let's go to that one, right? But when you got guys over the field, like I'm watching Chris Cole pick off a corner and run it back, pick 6. You know what I mean? I'm watching him, in the regional championship go. That's tough when you're trying to avoid folks. So you got to now, you got to face it. Now, this is the thing that I'll say about both teams. Both teams are built to stop themselves. Salem has a defense that is very built to stop a Salem offense. Very good. And the same way Tuscarora can stop their type of offense. They can lock you up, bring it on, get people around, and get guys free. It goes back to that coaching deal. Like, can we make at this level? I've coached in this game at Westfield High School. I've coached in this game. The difference in that game versus a Freedom Woodbridge team was an injury. That made the difference in that game. A special teams play that turn. I remember the year before that, it was the regional semifinal against a really good Woodbridge team versus Westfield. I'm right there on the sideline that game, and one big long run leads to a play, boom, and it doesn't come back, right? This is where we're talking. What defense is going to not allow that big long run or remain calm?
That's what I was going to say.
Or remain calm, because at this time you ride that emotional wave,
bruh.
And
that's what happened.
It's undefeated. It is that emotional wave is undefeated, because 1 minute you're up here and that deflates and you slide back down. Can you remain constant on a constant incline to crescendo at the end of the game? And that's gonna, it's gonna be exciting.
Okay. All right. Now we'll do these last two together because it shouldn't take too long. Special teams. Do we have one team we think that may be better than the other? Because I can give you an example. Freedom High School, great program, won the state championship last year, scored 1 million points, but they can't punt and they can't kick. So now, special teams wise, they can return and they can block all your punts. But do these teams have decent kicking and return games?
Well, I'll tell you, for Salem, their punter is Chris Martin. He's their backup quarterback, hint, hint, and he's also their starting safety. So he can kick the ball pretty well, but again, I've seen them run fakes. If you don't stay disciplined and they snap him the ball, he's got speed. He'll just go run. So they're good there. Their kicker, I've seen him, their place kicker, I've seen make a 50-yard field goal. Now, it wasn't 30 degrees and whatever it's going to be on Saturday, but special teams-wise, they're fundamental. Peyton Lewis is back on kickoffs and punts. Chris Cole's back on kickoffs. So special teams-wise, they're fundamental as you can get, and they have weapons that you have to respect.
I watched Tuscarora last week sky kick it and give the people the ball at the 35 and the 40 every time.
Everybody does that this year
because they don't want to give it to the dudes that can roll.
Yep.
And in a game where this could be, again, a traditional pro style offense, ball control, we're going to punt it on you. That's not good. That's not good. You give somebody the ball at the 40, they gain another 30 yards, they punt it, you're back at your 10 to 15. And
you're so right on that.
And that started out, I was just going to say that Champ game started out as a field position game, and Champ was winning that battle. Before you guys go, I would just say their kicker, Tuscarora's kicker, is very strong. Number 30, Josh Tukolsky, he's a weapon.
He is. And so I think how they choose to play that, I right now, just hearing, what Justin says, I give that edge to Salem right now. But again, it comes down to that last one when we talk about coaching. What adjustments do you make, and what do you carry in your back pocket?
Yeah, who wants to run that fake?
Yeah. I'll tell you when in another way I saw this just this past weekend. I covered the Brentsville Armstrong game, and when Armstrong was back on its 2-yard line, they never tried to kick an extra point. They always went for 2, but they also didn't have a good punter. They just took the safety because they knew their punter only having 10 yards to try to get this thing off, it wasn't going to work. But they took the safety, and then the free kick, still only went 15 yards. And then Brentsville went on to score and win the game. So special teams is extremely key at this type of year. Lastly, coaches.
For Salem, Don Holder has been with the program forever. He's been the head coach a number of years now. They have multiple state titles. He's been a part of a lot of them. They have a lot of coaches. Their staff, there was no shortage of people on the sideline, staffing and everything. They've all been there forever. They don't, to Jeremiah's point about, hey, the kids who kind of, the big moment, they kind of get a little out of sorts. The coaches, you don't have to worry about. Those guys, they got a pulse like that, and they've been doing it forever, and they know what to do.
Yep.
For Tuscarora, you got Jared Toller, his second year running the program. Took over, kind of abruptly last season, and again continue that tradition. Albeit short, very strong. Tuscarora program. And so, you know, and he's done a good job. There's been some changes in the staff, but his core members have been there and finding his stride as a coach. You know, again, I played just like everybody on the screen has played for that traditional coach, like that suck it up coach. It's 3 words, suck it up. Okay. Everybody
Coach Adams and Coach Kozlowski, they're mirror guys.
Listen, they're that guy, right? And so it's hard not to respect that. I know Salem's running belly. I know that they have trap in. I know this. Like it's a given, and I have seen them play, but I know that that's in, right? And there is no new wave that's going on. You know, this is how it's going to get done. It's a lot of willpower. And so, you know, it's hard to go against that at this time of year. It's hard to go against that. Now, I will say that you get stuck in your traditionalist ways and you can get beat. Okay.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can get beat by not taking that chance, by not being innovative. And so you know, I right now, you know, Salem, who's been here a lot, and has played in this game, it's hard to go against them in that coaching realm right now. But you know what? This is how great games happen. And this is how great coaches submit themselves and become even better coaches. Is in a game like this could be a statement game for a coach like Jared Tolan.
And it's not a 7-game series. It's a one-shot deal. You just got to have that one day. That's all you need.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So look, we're going to wrap this up. This is what we're going to do. Predictions, Jerry, you might have to go with the Leesburg team, but we're going to go predictions for this game. But then I know you may not have seen the other teams, but predictions on if the winner of this game has to think they even have a chance of what they can do against King George or Phoebus. All right, I'll start with you, Kirk, since you don't know much about football.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
I would say, you're right. I would say that I think Tuscarora is going to face a team with some weapons they haven't faced before. I already made a prediction. That episode came out tonight. We predicted all 12, and I predicted Salem by 17. After talking more and watching more, I'm going to lower that to 14. I think Salem will win this game by 14 points. I think Tuscarora has a better chance than I thought, Rusty. And I would say this, for the winner of this game to beat Phoebus King George would be monumental. I do not think that's going to happen. I think the winner of that game is going to be the state champion.
All right. Y'all hear that now? DraftKings.
And of course, it's going to be
14 points.
Yeah. And by the way, Justin,
we're trying to get DraftKings as a sponsor, like the Dan Leberton.
Have y'all heard the dings? Those are the messages I'm getting because Rusty picked Phoebus to lose.
Oh,
we just released that. So
that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Yeah, that's
Jeremiah. Oh, go ahead, Justin. You can go.
Oh, no, Jeremiah.
You got it, Justin.
You got it.
Okay. I think just from this conversation and everything, I think Salem wins by about 10, unless they stay so conservative with the stuff, with their offense, and Tuscarora can make and get Salem out of their comfort zone. I think there could be trouble. If Salem's allowed to do what they do, be big fundamental, not make mistakes, I think Salem wins by 10.
I'm gonna keep all well in Leesburg, right? And I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 3-point game, which is way closer than anybody, including on this show, has predicted. I do see Salem winning. I said it's a 3-point game. I think special teams is the tide. I say even with a good punt, I say a punt return can happen on the best of them. Kid falls, one person takes a wrong pursuit angle, and now that's 50 yards right there. And it might not be taken back, but a strip sack or a sack fumble or a return punt changes the emotional feel of a game like no other play. And it's more than a kick return. The kick return is kind of set up. You kind of see it happening. But a punt return, the expectation is he catches the punt, you're going to go down and tackle him, and then that's your first defensive play. So I'm saying that a punt return or a turnover, a strip sack fumble dictates that 3-point game, which could go either way.
Got a feeling Salem will not be throwing any pick sixes.
They won't throw more than one. I know that because they'll stop throwing it.
Yeah, exactly. They're not throwing the ball a whole lot. All right. And then I did make a prediction earlier on one of our other episodes. I have Salem winning by 10, 38. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, but I've got them winning by 10. All right. Now, the team you have winning, who do you think they may meet in the championship, and who do you think would win that?
But it's hard to go against Phoebus. You get on national news for putting up 104 points. I don't care who it's against.
Yeah, against air. Yeah.
The Sisters of the Poor. I mean, we've run offense on air and completed less passes than they did versus a real team.
So I as the parent of a team, of a child that played on a team that lost by a team putting up over 100 points. And from what I've read on this, yes, but I think a lot of the time, what I've noticed is teams that get beat that bad, when they put that 100 up, it's got a lot less to do with the players than the coaching.
Yeah, well, emotionally after 60, you start to, 58, you start to check out after a while.
But what was the coach doing? What was the coach doing that he could have done differently to not let him? It's a lot of ways you can keep it under 80.
Phoebus scored 20 points in the first 48 seconds.
That's unreal.
That's all I'm saying.
Unreal.
This is to win a championship. I learned this from Dick Adams. He never watches the show, but I'm gonna send him this one. Richard Dick Adams. He told me.
Coach Adams, my man.
Coach Adams, longtime coach, Annandale High School, 2-time state champion. You need guys. You need coaching. You need to be healthy, and you need a little bit of luck.
Yep.
You need a little bit of luck, and that's what you need. And Phoebus is creating their own luck. Their attitude is creating that. That's hard. That's hard. I'm just gonna say that's hard to go get.
So you're saying King George? You think Phoebus is gonna beat King George, and then they would win against Tusky?
Yes, and if Tusky, I didn't say Tusky was win. I said.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You said Salem.
I said Salem by 3. I said, but it can't be swayed. It can't be swayed. But I'm just saying, yeah, Phoebus wins. They win the championship.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and qualify for a drug test by saying Phoebus is going to lose. But I watched Salem a few years ago play a team, Lake Taylor. Lake Taylor had 7 Division I kids.
Jalen Holmes.
Salem won it.
Ohio State, yeah, it was a big one.
Salem won that game and won the state title. So I wouldn't say, I'm not going to tell you Salem's going to beat Phoebus. I'm just saying, just be careful.
Well, I'm going to tell you why Salem's not going to beat Phoebus, because Phoebus won't be in that final game. I've got King George beating Phoebus. Yes. And I've got Salem. So I've got a Salem King George final. I can give you some reasons why Phoebus may not be what everybody thinks. 104 is a big thingy, mirage. First of all, the Peninsula District, which I proudly came from, all right, is horrible. It's just, it was Phoebus and Warwick and a bunch of teams, 8 other teams that cannot score. So when you saw going into the Phoebus Warwick game, one team had only had 10 points scored against them and one had only had 8. But the reality is they didn't play anybody. The teams that can't score. Most of those teams in the Peninsula District now, a team like Denby has 16 players. They look like a bad JV. So high school football, and that's a whole nother show with how the discrepancies in talent. I don't think Phoebus you have a real fair representation of how good or bad that defense really is. Now, they beat Oscar Smith game 1. It was a low-scoring game. So they do have a legit D. They got great defensive players, a bunch of D1 talent. But the things I'm taking into consideration are this. King George got 2 big-time wide receivers, all right? 4 stars, going to big schools. One will be a Hokie. And so they've scored a lot of points. And they beat the last 2 Class 4 state champs. Okay, Phoebus, this ain't Class 3. Class 4 is a little bit tougher, and like I said, Jordan Bass ain't walking through that door. All right. He was a game changer, a tremendous, great, all-time great player in the Peninsula District history. So if King George beats Phoebus, I'm not going to be surprised the fact I'm picking it. And I think that King George, Salem, good matchup.
How can you take
By the way, Kirk Hilliard is a Phoebus alum.
Right. But how can you take a guy seriously who put something out to the world wearing a Virginia, the scissors with the Virginia Tech Stadium behind him? How can you take that seriously?
Because I
know your audience.
I graduated from University of Virginia for graduate school, but VCU is my main school. And then my brother played at Virginia Tech, and I just love the Hokies. So I can do that. But my favorite team this year is JMU.
Well, before we wrap it up, you're going to see some trick plays.
Wait a minute, did you say your prediction for overall winner? You said Salem?
Yeah, he's got Salem.
I said
Phoebus.
Clear.
I heard Salem. I said
Phoebus, but I do have to live next to Salem. So.
I heard that they have played Giants before.
Yes, that is correct.
Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with the chuckle replied.
Okay, so Justin officially says Phoebus, Salem people, when he comes into your stadium and calls a game next year. Kirk, of course, said Phoebus because he has to. All right, you have to. Right. You graduated from there. Jeremiah says Phoebus, and I, of course, said King George. And look, that's the beauty of all. It's just going to be fun taking the ride to see how this all plays out. I appreciate you guys joining us. This has been a tremendous episode, a true blessing. And again, if you have any parting shots, if you have anything you want to promote, Justin, your show, your radio show, or anything else you got going on, Jeremiah, same with you, and then we'll get out of here. Justin.
I just appreciate you guys having me. It's been a blast. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. JD. The other JD.
Real quick, I'd like to put this out there, man. We're involved with our school partners with them. The Aaron Peterson Fund, put in place by a Virginia Tech Hokie who unfortunately lost her life, in the Virginia Tech tragedy one, Aaron Peterson. Her mother, Celeste Peterson, started this fund. Again, go check it out, aaronpetersonfund.org. If you feel so moved to donate to them, that'd be great. It benefits kids in the Fairfax County community. She gives back. We run a young men's leadership group and a grace group for young ladies at the high school and middle school level. So go check that out. If you feel so moved to give back to somebody who might be in need during this time of season, please do that.
Hey, Jeremiah, how do you spell Aaron?
ERIN.
Peterson. I'll have it scroll across.
Yeah,
I'll get the info for you.
Fund.org. Yep.
Okay. Good deal.
All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up by saying, and thank you for reminding me of that type of stuff, Jeremiah. Look, this is the season to be not just thankful like we were last week, but also to give to those that may be less fortunate. My church, Shiloh Baptist Church in Loudoun, we're doing a lot of things, but you don't have to go to Shiloh. There are a lot of ways you can help people out. Find something, because this season to me is not about what I've ever received. It's been about what I'm able to give, and that has blessed me. That's been the greatest gift, of being able to bless somebody else. Find whatever or whoever you want. Doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter what part of the country you live in, doesn't matter your color or any race, anything. Just find somebody or something to bless.
Now I'm just gonna say that I can't make any games this weekend, but I will be in Charlottesville. I chose to go to Charlottesville. I went to Lynchburg last year of this, and look for us for basketball, please. And by the way, Southwest Virginia has great basketball history. I remember in 1988, Alonzo Mourning did not win the title his senior year.
Patrick Henry.
Roanoke did. Great ball players down there. So basketball's coming, so make sure you subscribe to us so you get all our content.
I was going to tell you one quick story. I covered the EC Glass Bethel high school playoff game in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
That kid for Bethel was pretty good.
Yeah, he was
Allen Iverson. He's all right.
Yeah.
Unreal football player.
Very, very
pretty good at basketball too, but yeah.
He's all right. Yeah, just a Hall of Famer. Yeah, that's how we do it, Bethel.
Cornell and Reuben Brown from Glass.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. So look, hey, thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. This was a great episode. But for Justin, Jeremiah, and Kirk, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.